She was just 19, a college student, a fighter. Anaya Blanchard stopped at a gas station late one night. Security cameras captured her inside. But after that, nothing. Welcome back to the Criminal Minds. This is not just a story of a disappearance. It's about a monster hiding in plain sight and a father who would stop at nothing to bring his baby home. She wasn't just any girl. She was the kind of young woman who made people smile without even trying. Anaya Blanchard was 19 years old, warm-hearted, strong, and full of energy. She had a soft voice and a big laugh. She was always quick to text back and made sure her family knew she was okay. She was in college, living in Auburn, Alabama, studying hard and building her future. Her dream was to become a teacher. Her mom, Angela Haley Harris, and her stepdad, Walt Harris, a UFC fighter, were proud of her. She was their light, their baby girl. On the night of October 23rd, 2019, nothing seemed strange. It was a normal Wednesday. Anaya was with her roommate. They were hanging out at home like usual, watching TV and talking. Around 8 p.m., she said she was heading out for a bit. Nothing unusual, just a quick trip to meet someone. Her roommate didn't ask too many questions. Anaya said she'd be right back. She grabbed her purse, phone, and keys, got into her black Honda CR-V. And that was it. No one realized that would be the last time her roommate or anyone who loved her would see her alive. A surveillance camera caught her walking into the Chevron gas station on South College Street. She was wearing a black jacket and a pair of shorts. Her hair was in a ponytail. She looked calm and casual, just like any other college student running a late-night errand. She walked around the small store and grabbed a snack, maybe a drink, paid at the counter, stepped outside, and vanished. What nobody knew yet was that there was someone else in that store with her. A man. He was watching her, standing near the coolers, pretending to browse. But his eyes never left her. After that stop at the gas station, her phone went silent. No texts, no calls, nothing. The next morning, her mom tried calling her. No answer. That wasn't like Anaya. She was the type to text back even if she was busy, always checking in, always reassuring. Her family started to worry, but they tried to stay calm. Maybe she had a late night. Maybe her phone died. Maybe she was with a friend and just forgot to check in. But as hours passed, that small worry turned into panic. By that evening, October 24th, her parents knew something was very wrong. Angela reported her missing. Walt, who was preparing for a UFC fight, left everything behind. He didn't care about fighting anymore. All he wanted was to find his daughter. Anaya's story hit differently. She wasn't into partying. She wasn't reckless. She was close to her family, focused on her future, and careful with who she trusted. That's what made her disappearance so terrifying. Because if someone like Anaya could vanish, it meant no one was safe. The gas station video was chilling, not because anything dramatic happened, but because of what followed. It was so normal, too normal. Anaya walked in like it was just another night. She moved confidently, unbothered. But in the background of that footage, a man stood watching her. Tall, dark hair, long beard, unshaven. His name wasn't known yet. But when investigators reviewed the tape, something felt off. He wasn't just another customer. He wasn't buying anything. He wasn't texting anyone. He was staring. Security cameras caught Anaya walking out. She disappeared behind the door, stepping back into the Alabama night. And then, that was it. On October 25th, 2 days after she disappeared, police got their first break. Anaya's black 2017 Honda CR-V was found abandoned at a Montgomery apartment complex that was over 50 miles away from the gas station. The driver's side was damaged. There were signs of a struggle inside. And worse, blood. They didn't know it yet, but that blood would later be tested. And it was Anaya's. This wasn't just a girl who stayed out too late. This was now a criminal investigation. Back at the gas station, police reviewed the footage again, frame by frame. That man, the one watching her, he had followed her outside, moments after she left the store. So did he. The camera never saw them together again. But detectives believed what happened next didn't happen on camera. The man's name was Ibrahim Yazid, and what shocked everyone was that he never should have been out on the streets. He had a criminal record that stretched years back. Just a few months earlier, he'd been arrested for kidnapping, attempted murder, and robbery. He'd beaten a man nearly to death. He'd forced him into a car, stole from him, and left him for dead. And yet, he had been released on bond. A violent man, free, walking the streets of Alabama. And that night at the Chevron gas station, he crossed paths with Anaya Blanchard. The sun rose over Alabama, but for Anaya's family, it only brought darkness. No word, no text, no call. She was out there somewhere, but no one knew where. Angela, her mother, kept calling her phone, straight to voicemail. Walt Harris, her stepdad, was pacing the house. He was known in the UFC world as the Big Ticket, a tough heavyweight fighter. But that morning, Walt wasn't a fighter. He was just a father, broken, scared, and desperate. He canceled his upcoming UFC fight, told his trainers he didn't care about anything else now. He had one mission: find Anaya. On the third day of Anaya's disappearance, the police called Angela. They had found her car. It was located at a rundown apartment complex in Montgomery, 50 miles away from where Anaya was last seen. Angela drove down immediately. Her heart was racing the entire way. She prayed her daughter would be inside, maybe sleeping, maybe confused, maybe scared, but alive. But when she got there, she was greeted with crime scene tape. Officers wouldn't let her get close. The car was abandoned. The front driver's side had been damaged, crumpled like someone had hit something or maybe tried to flee in a panic. Inside, it looked normal at first, until they found the blood. Not just a drop, enough to make detectives stop in their tracks. Too much for anyone to lose and still walk away. They rushed the samples for DNA testing. It was Anaya. Angela collapsed in tears. Walt went quiet, rage and grief mixing into something he couldn't explain. He was a fighter, but this wasn't a fight he knew how to win. This wasn't a cage match. This was real life. And his little girl was out there somewhere, hurt or worse. They posted on social media. They asked for prayers, for help, for anything. Celebrities, UFC fighters, and thousands of strangers began sharing Anaya's photo, pleading for answers. People started searching woods, gas stations, truck stops, anywhere she could have been taken. Still no Anaya. Forensics moved quickly. They swabbed the seats, the carpet, and the interior door handles. The lab results came back fast. The blood was Anaya's. And it wasn't just a scrape or a nosebleed. It was a significant amount. Too much. More than enough to assume she had been seriously injured inside that vehicle. Investigators now had to accept the hardest possibility. Anaya may not be alive. Angela refused to believe it. Walt wouldn't say the words. But deep inside, their worst fears had already taken root. This wasn't just a missing person case anymore. This was a potential murder. Out of nowhere, a new lead surfaced. Someone came forward, an eyewitness. A man said he saw Anaya at the same gas station that night. And not just her. He saw Ibrahim Yazid forcing her into her car. It wasn't loud. There wasn't screaming. It happened fast. She looked scared, he said. She didn't look like she wanted to go with him. And just like that, they were gone, driving off into the dark. This witness didn't report it that night. He thought maybe it was just an argument between people who knew each other. But after seeing the news, after seeing Anaya's face on every screen, he knew, with that statement and the video evidence from the gas station, the police now had enough. An arrest warrant was issued. Ibrahim Yazid was now the prime suspect in the kidnapping of Anaya Blanchard. But he was gone. He had fled the state, gone underground, disappeared. The U.S. Marshals were called in. A full manhunt began. As news of Yazid's criminal past spread, the public's anger boiled over. How could a man with such a long list of violent offenses be free? Why was he allowed out on bond after trying to kill someone months earlier? People demanded answers. State officials were pressured. The governor spoke out. But none of that could bring Anaya back. Not yet. After the arrest warrant was issued, Yazid vanished. He had connections. He had money. And now he was running. The U.S. Marshals launched a multi-state manhunt. Tips poured in from everywhere. He had been spotted at a motel in Montgomery, then maybe in Georgia, then possibly in Florida. Police were always one step behind. Until November 7th, 2 full weeks after Anaya vanished. Yazy was finally captured in Pensacola, Florida. He was hiding out in a small, dingy house, like a coward. When authorities moved in, he tried to run, jumped out a window, injured himself. But this time they got him. He was cuffed and taken into custody, and images of his arrest quickly went viral. Bloodied, defeated. The same man who had watched Anaya that night was now in chains. But Anaya still hadn't been found. Yazy said almost nothing. He didn't confess. He didn't talk. He sat in silence. No remorse, no emotion. Investigators leaned in. They tried every tactic: pressure, sympathy, even rage. But he didn't break. It was like he was playing a game. And the prize was watching a family suffer. Angela spoke directly to him during a press interview. "You are the last person to see my daughter. Say something. Tell me where she is. Be a man." But he never answered. Every hour that passed felt like a knife to the chest. What if she was alive somewhere, scared, alone, waiting? Walt Harris was desperate. The MMA world rallied behind him. Fighters, fans, and even UFC President Dana White offered money and resources. A reward grew to $105,000 for any information leading to Anaya's safe return. But it wasn't working. A second suspect was arrested. His name is Antoine Shamar Fisher, charged with assisting Yazy with helping him get rid of evidence. The story was unfolding. Piece by piece, the police were learning what had happened the night Anaya vanished. Fisher didn't kidnap her himself, but he helped after crime, and he admitted that. He claimed Yazy told him, "I messed up," and that he needed help. He didn't ask questions. He just helped him hide. This confession sent a chill through the entire investigation, because now it was clear Anaya wasn't coming home alive. With new details, search crews knew they had to look farther. More wooded areas, more rural roads, places where a body could be hidden for days, even weeks, without being noticed. Cadaver dogs, helicopters, drones, all were deployed. Volunteers combed through fields and forests in Macon County. Angela was exhausted. Walt was falling apart inside. But they kept going, because the only thing worse than losing her was never finding her. Walt Harris had never felt pain like this before. He had taken punches from the hardest hitters in the world. He had bled in the cage, broken bones, fought through injuries. But nothing could prepare him for the feeling of being powerless to save his child. He was used to fighting. That's how he lived. That's how he survived. But this wasn't a fight he could win with his fists. This was torture. Each morning started the same way. Wake up, remember she's missing, then collapse into grief. He tried to stay strong for Angela, for Anaya's siblings, and for the people watching. But the pain sat in his chest like a stone. He couldn't move. He would scroll through photos of her on his phone, listen to old voicemails just to hear her voice. Sometimes he'd whisper into the dark, "I'm coming, baby. I'm not going to stop looking for you." And when he was alone, when no one was watching, the tears would come. Police said they were working around the clock. But still nobody. No phone. No sign. Angela tried to stay busy, posting flyers, calling the police, refreshing her inbox. But deep down, she was unraveling. Walt stayed quiet on social media. His anger was turning inward. He blamed himself. He blamed the justice system. He blamed a world where monsters walked free while good kids disappeared. On November 25th, 2019, just 2 days before Thanksgiving, a call came in. Skeletal remains have been found in a wooded area in Macon County, about 35 miles from where Anaya's car had been found. The location was remote, barely accessible. It looked like somewhere someone would go to dump a body. Angela's stomach dropped when she got the call. Walt didn't say a word. He just drove. The search team moved carefully. The remains had been there for a while. There were bones, clothing, And something else, something no parent should ever see. A necklace. It was Anaya's. Angela fell to her knees. Walt turned his back, walked a few steps, and then broke down like never before. "That's my baby," Angela whispered. "That's her." A few days later, the DNA results came in. It was official. Anaya Blanchard was gone. She had been shot in the head. Her remains were left in the woods. Alone, forgotten, the girl who just stopped at a gas station was murdered and thrown away like trash. Anaya's remains were brought home in a small, quiet ceremony. Family, friends, tears, silence, a white casket, a framed photo of her beautiful, glowing smile, and a note from her mom inside, folded gently. "You were the best part of me. I will love you until my last breath." They buried her with her favorite stuffed animal, the one she used to sleep with as a child. Angela said, "Now she'll never be alone again." Anaya's funeral was more than a goodbye. It was a public cry for justice. Hundreds showed up, strangers, neighbors, MMA fans, politicians. They wore shirts with her face, chanted her name. Walt tried to speak, but broke down halfway. Angela stood beside him, holding his arm. Together, they stared out at the crowd, a crowd that had fallen in love with their daughter without ever knowing her. Yazy was officially charged with capital murder, kidnapping, and abuse of a corpse. The death penalty was on the table. They also arrested Anquan Fisher and another man, David Johnson Jr., for helping Yazy cover up the crime. The story was finally coming together. Yazy had kidnapped Anaya. He likely tried to sexually assault her or silence her. And when she fought back, because she would have, he pulled the trigger, then dumped her like she meant nothing. But to the world, she meant everything. Even with charges filed, there was no peace, no comfort, only the long, slow crawl toward trial. Walt Harris went back to training. But he wasn't the same. When he stepped into the cage months later, he didn't fight for rankings or fame. He fought for her. Angela began working with lawmakers behind the scenes. She was exhausted, but she said one thing over and over: "We're going to change the law, so no other family goes through what we did." And she meant it, even after the law was passed, even after the casket was lowered, even after the world had moved on. One thing remained unfinished: justice. For Anaya's family, justice wasn't just a word. It was a promise. And that promise still hadn't been fulfilled. Ibrahim Yazy was now officially charged with capital murder, kidnapping in the first degree, abuse of a corpse. The death penalty was on the table. But here's the part that makes your blood boil. He pleaded not guilty. After everything, the security footage, the blood in her car, the witness who saw him forcing her inside, the body, the bullet wound, the cleanup, help from his accomplices. Still, he said not guilty. Angela sat in the courtroom. The first time he appeared in front of the judge, she stared him down with the kind of rage only a mother could carry. Walt didn't even look at him. He kept his head down, clenching his fists so hard they shook. The legal process crawled. Court dates were set, then rescheduled. Hearings were postponed. Motions were filed, one after another. Yazy's attorneys claimed mental health concerns. They requested evaluations, made arguments, and dragged the case out. Years passed. No trial. No closure. Angela went to every hearing. Sometimes she sat there for hours just to hear the judge say, "Case continued." Each time, it reopened the wound. Walt told a reporter, "They already took her from us. Now they're making us relive it, over and over again." The fight for justice continues. Ibrahim Yazy will stand trial. And when he does, the world will finally hear the full truth, under oath. And if there's justice in this world, he will never walk free again. But no punishment, no matter how severe, will ever bring her back. All it can do is honor her name and make sure the system never forgets who it failed. What happened to Anaya wasn't just a crime. It was a message, a warning, and a challenge to every one of us. So now I ask you, what would you have done differently if you were her parent? What would you do if this was your daughter? Let me know in the comments. And if you're still here, subscribe. Hit that bell. share her story,